For early access to more videos like this, plus exclusive content, community discussions, and more, become a patron at patreon.com/BrucePoinsett. What's going on, world? It's Bruce, and this is Oregon Kwanzaa Stories Day 2. What is Oregon Kwanzaa Stories? It's a 7-part mini storytelling series based on the principles of Kwanzaa. And why are we doing this? Because Kwanzaa gets a bad rap, even though it's possibly the holiday that, you know, is just right for this time of racial justice uprising and, responding to a pandemic. So each day I share some stories related to the corresponding principles of Kwanzaa. If you want to get a history of the holiday itself, check out video 1 about Umoja, which is unity. But today we're going to be talking about Kujichagulia, which is self-determination. And a reminder, if you have your own self-determination stories, share them in the comments below and make sure to like, share, and subscribe and all the YouTube stuff. Now, let's talk about self-determination. So how's that defined? To define ourselves, name ourselves, create for ourselves, and speak for ourselves. So when I think of self-determination, one of the first people I think of is my mother, honestly, Willie Poinsett. She grew up in Sumter, South Carolina. She was adopted twice. Her mom was, you know, the people that you see depicted in movies like The Help. Like, her mom actually did that work, and my mom didn't get to, she wouldn't be able to see her on weekdays where she was staying. But nonetheless, she, I think part of that drove her determination when it came to education. So she was this exceptional student that she graduated from college early in New Jersey, and she went into education. She rose up to be a principal first in New Jersey, famously working before she became principal under Joe Clark of, bat and bullhorn fame. And then in Portland Public Schools for, yeah, I shouldn't date her on that. But, she instilled in me early the importance of education and fighting for it, perhaps most importantly. So I think back to kindergarten and a day that she'll never forget, where they had reading nights when, that was the first year we really focused on reading. They had us do Bob books during the day, and we were supposed to, they invite all the parents and have them watch us read. And, everyone claps, everyone's happy. But the thing was, there were two dark kids in my kindergarten class. And yes, it was mostly white, but there was me and there was an exchange student named Mohammed from Saudi Arabia. So during the reading time, my teacher, Mrs. Becker, she would have myself and Mohammed go in a corner and play with blocks while she taught the other kids how to read. So guess how that turned out when we got to reading night? I was, as you could guess, functionally illiterate. My parents were embarrassed, but they weren't broken by any chance. What it just meant was that they would then spend the rest of that year, you know, taking extra time with me to go over these Bob books, and mom especially, until I was very much caught up, because Mrs. Becker tried to use that as impetus to say I should be held back. But like I said, my parents read with me every night, and I was caught up by the end of the year. So shout out to Miss Becker. You tried, but you didn't get it. But this would turn out to be a theme through much of my school years in LO. And the only difference is, whereas in kindergarten, maybe I wasn't, as equipped to handle it myself, but I thankfully had parents who were, valued education and had the, were able to find the time to basically push me through, then, came moments where I had to step up. And I think one of the first ones where I really felt it was fifth grade. We had, we were doing these books called Wordly Wise. And I always remember the one in fifth grade was book 4 with this owl on it, which we will pull up here so you can check that out. So the thing was, in fifth grade, I'd actually done Wordly Wise. I had transferred schools from third to fourth grade. So I was going to the school Touchstone, and then I started going to Forest Hills in fourth grade. But at Touchstone, I had started doing Wordly Wise, and I had done book 3, and I still kept the books because, I was just, what were you going to do with them? So I had finished it, but then I get to, I'm in fifth grade with Miss Pompili, and she places me in book 3, which again, not just had I finished, but I still had and could still, my mom still produced for her to, let her know, hey, Bruce is being placed in the wrong level. But nonetheless, that wasn't good enough. So we had to work out a deal. So Miss Pompili stipulated that if I get 100% on each test for 5 weeks in a row, only then can I move up to, book 4. It's a little bit of a high mark. It's a little bit like 100%. It's not just mastery, it's perfection. But I did it. I did it. So shout out to Miss Pompili. You tried. You didn't do it. You couldn't get me. And I got up, and then I'm pretty sure I didn't get anything less than an A on all my tests through that, because at that point, there's something you get when it was an unfair test, but when you conquer it anyway, despite all that, when you show these forces that they can't stop you, there's a certain power that comes to you, a certain realization that you are stronger than some of these systems or some of these people who really just go out of their way for no reason to hold you down or to discourage you. So I don't share this story to advance any myth of meritocracy. I share it to demonstrate that we are stronger than these systems when we put our mind and our time into it. And I certainly had a lot of privileges working for me, but it was also a matter of understanding the game and my parents understanding the game and giving me the tools in which, when I was ready, I could respond and, again, define my own success, define my own destiny going forward, versus having a Miss Becker or Miss Pompili or anyone else who tried through my school years define it for me. So that concludes today's story time on self-determination. Check you out on the next video. Happy Kwanzaa, everyone.